You've got a huge decision to make. The stakes are high, the information is just overwhelming, and it feels like everyone has an opinion. So, how do you make the right call without basically just throwing a dart at a board?
We have all been there. You know the feeling, right? Picking a career, choosing a new technology for a project, even buying a car. You're just paralyzed by choice, trying to weigh things that feel like they can't even be compared. But what if there was a structured way to take all your intuition and all that chaos and actually turn it into clarity?
All right, so in this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful framework that does exactly that. First, we'll lay out the problem and see why the old ways of doing things just don't cut it. Then, we'll get into a breakthrough called the analytic hierarchy process, walk through how you can use it, and finally, weigh its real-world power against its pitfalls. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the big question. Why are modern decisions so incredibly hard? The source material we're looking at puts it pretty bluntly. We're trying to navigate a world that is fundamentally uncertain, random, and disorderly.
Think about it. Technology has put everything on hyperdrive. We are drowning in data, but we have less and less time to actually make sense of it. And when you throw a group of people at a high-stakes problem in this kind of environment without a clear process, well, the chances of making a bad call are incredibly high. The decision often isn't just a little off. It can be completely, utterly wrong. Now, naturally, people have been trying to solve this for ages. And the most common approaches, they seem logical on the surface, right? But it turns out they're hiding a massive, massive flaw. Take this classic, the weighted sum method. It looks simple enough. You rate your options on a few criteria. You multiply each rating by how important that criterion is, its weight, and you just add it all up. The highest score wins. Easy. Looking at this table, alternative 3 seems like the obvious winner. But there's a fundamental problem here. And here is where it completely falls apart. This is the classic apples and oranges problem, for real. Imagine one of your criteria is cost in dollars, and another is speed in miles per hour. This method is literally asking you to add dollars and miles per hour. What does that even mean? It's mathematical nonsense. The solution, as our source points out, is to stop adding and start using ratios. Because a ratio, like saying something is twice as expensive, is a pure dimensionless number. And those you can combine logically.
And it's not just the bad math. There's a human problem too. I mean, where did those first ratings and weights even come from? Somebody's gut? With these older methods, there is no way to check or even understand the biases and prejudices that are baked right into those numbers. So clearly, we need a much better way to do this.
And that, right there, brings us to the breakthrough, a system that was designed from the ground up to handle both the complexity and the very real subjectivity of human decision-making. It's called the Analytic Hierarchy Process, or AHP. Now, the key idea here is not to replace your human judgment with some cold, unfeeling algorithm. No, it's the opposite. It's about taking our experience, our intuition, even our gut feelings, and giving them a structured, mathematically sound framework so we can finally put them to good use. And listen, this is not just some academic theory. The AHP was developed back in the 1970s for the U.S. Arms Control and Disarmament Agency. Just think about that for a second. This system was born from the need to make incredibly complex, unbelievably high-stakes decisions about national security. It was built for the real world, under pressure, from day one. So you're probably asking, okay, sounds impressive, but how does it actually work? Well, the whole process is built on a pretty intuitive 3-step logic. First, you decompose. You break your big, messy problem into a simple pyramid. You've got your main goal at the top, the criteria you'll use to judge, and your final alternatives at the bottom. Second, you compare. But here's the genius part. You're not trying to rate everything at once. You only make simple, one-on-one, head-to-head judgments. You just answer questions like, when it comes to cost, is car A strongly better than car B? That's it. You do that for every pair. And finally, the process uses some really clever math to synthesize all of those little judgments into a single overall score for each of your options. And this is the payoff. After all those simple little comparisons,
The AHP does the heavy lifting and synthesizes them into this, a final quantitative ranking. All that complexity, all that uncertainty, it just resolves, and a clear winner emerges based entirely on the judgments that you provided. The best choice becomes obvious.
Now, this power is exactly why AHP is used all over the place. But, like any tool, if you want to use it well, you have to understand both its strengths and its weaknesses. Its power really comes from the way it mirrors our own thinking. It's analytic because it gives you a logical way to turn those gut feelings into numbers you can actually defend. It uses a hierarchy, which is exactly how our brains naturally try to break down big problems anyway. And maybe most critically for teams, it provides a process, a formal, repeatable method that is just essential for getting a group to agree on a reasoned decision. And because the AHP is so flexible, its applications are just huge. I mean, it is a proven, battle-tested tool for everything from choosing suppliers and allocating budgets to forecasting outcomes and managing quality in really demanding fields like healthcare, defense, and big business. But it's not perfect. It's not a silver bullet. And the biggest academic criticism you'll hear is something called rank reversal. It's a little weird. It's when adding a new option, even one that's clearly worse, can suddenly flip the ranking of your original choices. Think about it this way. If you prefer coffee over tea, finding out that orange juice is also available shouldn't suddenly make you prefer tea over coffee, right? That potential for inconsistency is the main knock against the AHP. So after all that, what is the final verdict on the analytic hierarchy process? Well, despite all the academic debates, AHP has thrived for decades. Why? Because its real value isn't just about finding one single perfect answer. Its real power is that it helps structure your thoughts. It forces you to be explicit about what matters to you and why. It works with our natural decision-making process, not against it. Ultimately, it's a tool for better thinking. In the end, the AHP is really a map for navigating the chaos of a big choice. It turns a single, paralyzing problem into a series of small, manageable steps. So think about it. What's that one impossible decision you're facing right now that might just become clear if you simply took the time to break it down?